Thanks for tuning in and taking a look on my first YouTube video on what I hope is going to be a good channel for everybody. All about 1/64th cars, modifying them, customizing them, putting them back to their former glory. So let's start with a 1978 Matchbox RS2000. Cue the big titles. Now, with most of the restorations at least, I actually played with these 35 years ago as a kid, so obviously I haven't grown up much because I'm still messing around with them now. So I don't quite know at what stage I decided to cover this one in Tipex. I don't know if you guys have got it in the States. It's something you used to correct you're writing with as a kid when you're at school. But as you can see, this is what an original RS2000 should have looked like, and for some reason this is what I ended up doing with it back in the day. I was probably 5 or 6 at the time. Thought it was good to rip off all the old paper stickers off it, the Dunlop Sibby shell liveried car, and decided for some bizarre reason, yeah, it's going to look good covered in matte white. Quite what I was thinking, I really don't know. They did come in different liveries, if I remember rightly. They had some green one with a trailer behind it, if memory serves me well. They re-released it again in the 80s with a bit of a plastic base. It wasn't as good as the original die-cast chassis one. As with all the cars, it always starts with drilling out the old rivets on the bottom. I've got a big pillar drill in the garage. It's an old one, didn't cost me much. I've seen people put them in vices and drill them out by hand, but I tend to try and be a little bit more safe. Getting on in my old age, I don't like taking my fingers off, but as you can see, comes off fairly easy once you've done it. I do, at this stage, before doing anything else, tap the bottom. I haven't put it in this video, but I will do a little tap feature later on in the process. There's lots of other people that have done the tapping process on here. With this particular car, I'm not going to save these wheels, so I was quite ham-fisted and just butchered these old axles out of here, really. I'm never going to save these ones. They've seen better days over the last 30 odd years, left in a toy box, so off they come. As you can see, it's welded on pretty tight, this old Tipex paint. I use different ways to get the paint off. With this video I'm using Nitromorse. Again, you need a ventilated area, a bit of safety, covering yourself up with the gloves, but just dab it on and literally within a few minutes it starts to bubble up, peel off right before your eyes. I have got other pots full of other paint strippers which I'll show in other videos if people start liking what I'm doing, and I can show that later on. A little bit more dirtier, I just left them with all the other bits of painting and I chuck them in there submerged overnight. They come off like butter. It's really, really good. As you can see, it does come off really easy after a couple of minutes. Just a bit of light agitation there with the brush. I always then go to the sink afterwards and give it a good clean afterwards. Here, what I've done this time though is I've pinched my son's toothbrush and decided to give it a good wash. Only joking, that's my wife's toothbrush really. One thing I didn't put in this video, to get into those little lines, you can find them all over eBay, some dental toothpicks that they use when you go and have your teeth checked. The little hook things made of stainless steel, you can really get into the tight bits and scrape them out. As always at this stage, once it's done, I love the way that the cars look, even in primer, you know, but bare metal cars, they look really cool, I think. And even now with the monoblock wheels that I'm going to stick on it when it's finished, it looks a lot better already. It looks more like a real car than it does when it was a toy. Now, depending on how pitted the bodies are, I tend to use a rotary drill with a brush on it just to clean it up a little bit. In this case I used the wheel that I've got already in the garage again. Used it very lightly just to get the pitting out. Kept a lot of the detail. The brush is a very thin wire brush. It's not quite a heavy duty one for this that I use. As you can see, it comes out pretty good. It was a lot of years of decay on the old car anyway, so I've managed to keep a lot of the detail but get rid of a lot of the impurities that it had. It'll make a good base for the actual finished car. Now, I always use Halford's primer. Again, in the UK, Halford's is a car superstore, loosely based car superstore, some might say, but they've got a good stock of general items that I use, and it's nothing fancy. I use grey primer, white primer, does the job, looks okay when it's finished. Again, with the chassis, I'm going to put this back to the original black that the original car had. So again, I've hung this out in my little spray booth, which is well ventilated. Chuck on a bit of primer and get that base coat down. Again, I like the look of the primer. I think they look great when they're finished, and I'd have a primer car all day long actually. I think they look good, the matte finish on them, even a real car. Finish paints over the top, I tend to use the Tamiya ones. I've got a lot of the old TS ones from the old model making days, and some PS for the polycarbonates. To me, they still go down well once I've put lacquer on after they've dried. Never see a problem with them, so I've got a good range of colours. They go on nice. I always put a few coats on there, 1 to 2 light base coats, 2 maximum heavy coats, but again at this scale I probably try my best not to go more than 3, at a push 4 to be honest. For my purposes they look good. I always put 2 coats of lacquer on afterwards as well once I've put decals on, if I'm putting decals on that is, just to seal it in again. Okay, so here's the finished pieces. Again, I used the Tamiya TS Black for the chassis. It's come out pretty good. There's no defects in this, I can see that stick out. And again with the body, all looks quite smooth. It's made a real difference actually using that wire brush on the roof, because the roof looks pretty good. There's still a little bit of flash from the original die cast when it was made. I haven't gone to town too much on that. Just all in all it looks pretty good, but here underneath I will put a little bit more orange, just to match the original chassis, how the cars were, just to finish it off under the bumpers, make it stand out a little bit more than just a basic looking car. With the windscreen, it is a little bit discoloured and battered, as they all are. I have actually made one out of styrene, evergreen styrene, the clear one. I haven't actually done a video on that, but a lot of people on Instagram do ask me how I make them. It's not hard to do, so I will do a separate video. 10 minutes of tracing it out on a bit of paper, a little bit of cutting and fettling around, and you can make some nice, clean, brand new looking windshields, so they look good. Basic interior, I will paint this before I reinstall it back in, but not a bad representation of the Recaro fish. Well, no, the Recaros that was in the original car had fishnet headrests, which you can't really put in these. Or actually, they might have had the original pillow ones. I can't remember now. Now I've said that, I'll have to check, but not a bad interior all the same. What I'm doing here with a bit of overspray paint from the original TS is just painting underneath, just to finish it off. As you can see, makes a massive difference to how the car would originally look underneath on that front fender, and again on the rear underneath. It's exactly how a car would have looked, and not just finished straight into the chassis. Obviously when you're mass producing these they can't really do it Matchbox, but by and large they come out pretty good when I do these things to them. Now, the little bit of time spent, you really can change these cars from how they originally looked, with, you know, a little bit of paint in the headlights, indicators, spoilers, window surrounds even. It takes a bit of a steady hand, but it does finish it off quite good. Onto the wheels now. Again, I said I used the Monoblock 4-spoke wheels with these, with the rubber tyres. There's lots of ways to put wheels and tyres on, and Again, with the super glues I've got lots of different types of glues, and a lot of people get disheartened with glues. They'll buy the ones with the needles in the end. It comes gushing out. You stick your fingers to everything and not the parts you want. Parts never stick together, but I use lots of different thicknesses. With this one, I used a medium one. I always use a spray afterwards, a activator, which hardens it pretty instantly, gets all the moisture out of it actually, and it dries within seconds, just as a super glue should do. So as you can see, the finished one, even with these windows that I was talking about earlier, makes a massive difference to how it originally looked. The 4 spokes I chose specifically because a lot of Mark II Escorts, at least in Europe, certainly in England, looked pretty damn fine with these aftermarket 4 spokes a lot of people were putting on. I think they were Revolutions, if I remember rightly. So the scale wise, it looks pretty damn good how the original cars looked back in the day. Bit of a dish on the rims, all the details on there. Probably could have done a little bit thinner material on the number plates that I put on it, but here's how it originally looked. Battered and bruised, but well playing with, and a lot of happy memories, and brought right up until today, how I would really do a real car if I was doing it, restored back to its former glory. So hopefully, if you like these videos, I'll do some more. Hopefully I haven't waffled on too much. I can put as much detail in or as little detail in as you like. Please like and subscribe.